In July 1985, a young German tennis star broke onto the scene and became the youngest men's Wimbledon champion. At just 17, Boris Becker was reimagining how tennis could be played. His rocket-like serve, incredible speed and agility at the net made him a force to be reckoned with.
Game, set, match, Becker.
Well, one of the reasons tennis is so popular is maybe the ultimate one-to-one, maybe with boxing. But boxers only have to fight 12 rounds. We play for days at an end. So you really have to get into somebody's head.
Becker was an iconic figure in the game throughout the 80s and 90s. And following his inauguration into the Laureus Academy in 2000, he has since been an integral part of the global work of the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation.
I think first and foremost, I was very honored and humbled when I was asked to join as a founding member. It was 24 of us, and the legendary Nelson Mandela was our chairman then. And over the years, we're now up to 71. We're people fighting for the same cause, that is using sport as a social tool for change. There's so many memories over those 20 plus years, whether it was a project in India, went to see whether it was the midnight basketball camp in Washington. It would, a number of projects in Germany or elsewhere. But ultimately, it's always the language of sport that is such a strong communicator. Sport and music are the two, most important vehicles. I'm a very bad musician, but I'm a good sportsman, so I stick to sports.
The golden era in tennis has been defined by 3 previous and very special Laureus World Sportsman of the Year winners: Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic.
The greatest attribute and the greatest quality Roger, Rafa, and Nola has is the longevity, because anybody can have a good week, even a good year. But to do it over 15, 17, 18 years now is exceptional.
It was a stroke of genius from Federer, it has to be said.
Through Roger, we gained a whole different fan base of people that never followed the game before, but they followed Roger Federer. The way he played Roger, he was sort of an artist in motion. It never looked difficult. I don't think he ever shared a sweat on a tennis court, or not that I've seen it. He looked so easy with the technique and the elegance he had on the court. I think if we look back in the history of tennis, he will always be mentioned as the one and only.
Novak Djokovic back at the top of the game.
And talking about Nola, he's the reigning Australian Open champion. I think we call each other family. I think that's as close as you can be. He's a younger brother from another mother, maybe. If you have a good eye for the game, you see he's winning his points a lot quicker. He doesn't go into the long rallies, 15, 20 strokes. He wants to win it after 5. 36, you don't want to go with a 22-year-old baseline rallies every time, because you're going to feel it more than your opposition. So I think that's where he improved, and I think that's the secret. I see him very much in the mix. Who would bet against Novak once he enters a tournament? The so-called big 3, the Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic era, is not over yet. Djokovic is still the winner of Melbourne, and Rafa is still, Rafael Nadal. Roger did retire, but, both are in their mid-30s. So you have to look who's the next crop of players.
A new talent has burst onto the scene. Like Becker, 2023 Laureus World Breakthrough of the Year winner Carlos Alcaraz is sweeping all before him. The youngest ever men's #1 is challenging the old guard with his explosive speed, supreme skill, and shot-making ability.
You always look for the X factor with this young athlete. He definitely had it, and then not just from a prodigy or from a talented young Spanish player. He's number one player in the world. So he's way more than just the breakthrough player. He's a dominating factor in tennis. I think the hard court is even better for him than clay because of the topspin. He accelerates on both wings because the way he moves on the hard court already. Having said that, he's won a couple of clay courts along the way already. But if you see where Nadal was at 19 and where Alcaraz is at 19 already winning the US Open, it's a very, very close competition. It's very difficult to win your first one, especially as a teenager. But the much harder task is to defend it, to come back and win it again. Because then from a hunter, you become a hunted. all of a sudden everybody wants to have your scalp. Therefore, the expectations, the pressure, the performance have to be better. When you're a teenager, you don't have anything to worry about. Whatever match you play next is great. So that helps you a lot with dealing with the expectation. I think pressure is privilege. If you have pressure, you're about to do something great. So pressure is good. If you don't have pressure, it's not worth it. I like two others a lot. I like Yannick Sinner from Italy. He has everything you need to be a successful tennis player. He's got the supporting cast. He's got the attitude. He's good on all surfaces. Got this fighting spirit. And I also like Holger Rune from Denmark. He's another one that I see go a long way. He's a bit more aggressive, a bit more in your face, all part of the game. So I like to watch them play each other. All in all, I don't really worry about where tennis is going because I see a lot of potential and great personalities with these players that I mentioned.